Welcome to the Illuminated Page, a program for readers and writers. In it, we talk about books, book-related topics, writers, what they do well, and how we can do those things ourselves. I've been reading Ann Rule for a long time. Of course, not as long as she's been writing. She has more than 30 books to her credit. All of them true crime, some under her name and some under a pen name, but that's not the point. Need to stay on topic here. Ann Rule has a lot of skills. She's a really clean writer who researches her stories and cases really well before she sets pen to page. But I think the thing she does best is that she usually, I don't know how to word it, but she withholds a piece of the story. It's not always the most important part either, but she withholds a little piece of the story and keeps it and then drops it in at just the right moment. She doesn't always save it until the end, but she has this perfect timing for when to put in a little comment, a little piece of information that gives the whole thing an ironic twist or gives you as the reader a new understanding of the case or the relationships involved. It's just amazing. And that started with her first book, Stranger Beside Me. If you're familiar with it, you know that she herself, while researching this serial killer that was stalking her area, she didn't know that she was the co-worker of Ted Bundy. Although I guess the title kind of gives it away, Stranger Beside Me. Is that a spoiler? I'm not sure whether that's a spoiler or not, so you make the call. I trust you. Just cut this whole dithering part out so people think I know what I'm talking about and that I prepared, which I did. The way Ann Rule writes really draws us in, and it rings true to us because we know that as we go through life, we don't know everything when we would like to know it. Some things are withheld from us, and then we find out later, and it changes our perspective on life and everything that's going on, especially in the spiritual life. This rings true to us because we see in Scripture that God brought forth Christ in the fullness of time. That means that He had His plan from the beginning, but the timing with which He brought the Messiah into the world and the timing with which He orders all of our lives belongs to Him alone. So in that way, Ann Rule shows us something that we all experience in one way or another. And that's one of the things that keeps me coming back to her stories. Although a lot of people tell me they can't read true crime. Even true crime is well written as Ann Rule's. And I understand that. It's tough to look at life the way it is and people the way they are. I would rather read books about puppies and cupcakes and happy endings, but we live in this world, and in this world there's rottenness and death and horribleness and horrible people. And like Ann Rule says in her first book, sometimes the stranger beside us is that person, although I find it's best not to think about it. And statistics do tell us that it's more likely, well, it's less likely to be a stranger and more likely to be someone we know. That maybe I shouldn't put this part in. If you find that true crime isn't your thing, maybe you should try comic crime. Is comic crime a real genre? Well, now it is. Check out my trilogy, Collapsible. Depending on when you see this, the first two books should be out with the third one to follow shortly. By March of 2018, Collapsible, Flexible, and Unbreakable will all be available for you, and they are comic crime. Yes, there are criminal elements to the stories, and yes, there's danger and suspense, but there's a whole dose of comedy as well. Does that make you curious? I hope so.